Welcome back, everybody, to the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise here on Madden 21 for the PlayStation 5. We have the 2023 NFL Draft. Obviously, as you all know, I spend a ton of time making these draft videos, so if you could leave a like and subscribe if you're new, I would appreciate it. Last episode, we went through free agency. We made plenty of big moves. Our biggest would be signing Brian Burns to a one-year contract. We also brought back Brandon Linder, signed a bunch of other depth players. We were also very active on the trade market, sending away wide receiver Laviska Shenault to the Eagles for defensive tackle Tyler Matthews and a draft pick, and we also traded some draft picks away to the Broncos for young wide receiver Joshua Thomas. Obviously, it was a very interesting free agency period. Daniel Jones now in Detroit, Gardner Minshew competing to start in Vegas, Matthew Stafford, Marcus Mariota, they are now starting with the Titans and Bears respectively. We did lose a lot of pieces in free agency. Andrew Norwell, Phillip Lindsay, Sheldon Rankins, and Josh Lambo are all gone. And I think we did a pretty good job of filling up most of those holes, but there are still some positions that we will certainly look to improve upon. And we have an opportunity to do that here in the draft with plenty of draft capital, as we do own 2 second-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks. We don't own a 5, however, and we own all of our other regular picks. So if you would like to download the draft class that we are using in this series, just go to the draft class downloader. It's called Jags Class 3, and it is available for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I was able to figure out how to make sure it would work for both current-gen and next-gen consoles. Unfortunately, it is not available on Xbox, but it should be available on the 2 PlayStations, and you'll be able to use all of the talented rookies who are now in this series. So, without further ado, let's end the anticipation and the wait. Let's get to the 2023 NFL Draft. Tampa Bay, you're on the clock. With the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Aiden Kentz, quarterback, University of Virginia. No surprise here at 1. Aiden Kentz is the selection. We've been dubbing him as the next great QB prospect since he was a true freshman at Virginia. Now that he's NFL Draft eligible, he is in the league, and he's as good as advertised. Tampa Bay's got themselves one darn good quarterback going forward. With the second pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Carter Westwood, wide receiver, Westlake. Again, no major surprise here. Carter Westwood, the best non-quarterback in this draft, is headed up to the Steelers. This kid is a physical freak and gives you everything you want in a wide receiver. My only concern with him coming out of college is that he does not have a ton of chemistry with quarterbacks other than his older brother, Stephen Westwood, who he's played with for most of his career. Well, luckily that won't be an issue because Stephen Westwood, if you remember, was drafted last year by the Steelers. So the Westwood connection is reuniting in the NFL in Pittsburgh. With the third pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Eldridge Payne, edge rusher, Ohio State. New Orleans got their quarterback last year in Marcus Trotter, and now it's time to focus on the defense. Eldridge Payne out of Ohio State, the best pass rusher in this draft. Very athletic, very talented. He's next in line of those talented Ohio State pass rushers to enter the NFL. With the fourth pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Darian Milton, safety, Notre Dame. Although Darian Milton only has normal development, I do think he's one of the most intriguing players in this draft class. To me, he's a smaller Isaiah Simmons, a versatile chess piece who's super athletic and can play a number of different positions on the defense. Although ratings and dev trait-wise, it doesn't look like a great pick, but I do like it for the Titans. With the fifth pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jalen Garrett, cornerback, Washington. This is the first pick that kind of caught me off guard. I did not expect Jalen Garrett to go in the top 5, although I think he is worthy. Other than a poor 40-yard dash time, I think he's one of the most complete prospects regardless of position in this draft. I did not expect him to be the first corner off the board, but if you remember, Denver drafted his older brother, Dwight Garrett, in the second round last year, so now Jalen Garrett and Dwight Garrett are playing in the same secondary for the Broncos. Seems like a lot of brothers are really getting paired up in the NFL. I think that's pretty cool. With the 6th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Amir Alugiri, cornerback, LSU. In my opinion, the top defensive player in this draft class is LSU's Amir Alugiri, a very versatile and talented corner headed to South Beach for the Dolphins. This is a great selection for Miami. With the 7th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select DeJuan Price, edge rusher, BYU. I'm a little bit surprised to see DeJuan Price go in the top 10, but at just 20 years old, this kid has tremendous athleticism and upside, and I don't blame New England for this pick whatsoever. With the 8th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Jonathan Boston IV, edge rusher, Louisville. Here comes the run on defensive lineman. Now Jonathan Boston going to the Raiders. He's more of an old-school defensive end, very different to DeJuan Price, but both of these players are very talented and are worthy of top 10 selections. With the 9th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Xavier Michel, offensive tackle, Mississippi State University. I would say this is the first bad pick in the draft. I think Xavier Michel has the potential to be a starter, but he's just not great right now. And I mean, the Rams kind of got unlucky because they wanted to improve the O-line, and this is a really bad O-line class, so they kind of got dealt a bad hand, but they didn't really make the most of it and probably should have looked elsewhere at this pick. With the 10th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Bobby Tatum, linebacker from the University of Tennessee. The Packers have had an issue with linebacker for a while. Well, now they don't anymore. Bobby Tatum, a very talented middle linebacker who really does everything very well. I think this is a good pick for Green Bay. With the 11th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jaden Gorman-Young, quarterback from the University of Georgia. Okay, I did not see this coming. Jaden Gorman-Young going to Detroit. Now, if this pick had happened before the offseason had started, it would have made a lot of sense. The Lions do need a new quarterback. Matthew Stafford is gone. But they just signed Daniel Jones to a $70 million contract. So you're investing $70 million and a first-round pick on quarterbacks. I don't think value-wise this is a bad pick for the Lions. I think Jaden Gorman-Young's a really good prospect. But the Lions have just managed their assets horribly this offseason. With the 12th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Rashawn Campbell, cornerback, Colorado. Rashawn Campbell was the top projected corner in this class, but instead he is the third one selected after both Garrett and Alugiri. I like what the Jets did here. They let the draft play to them and got a player who probably should not have been on the board here at 12. With the 13th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jace Wheeler-Kennedy, offensive tackle from the University of Texas. Again, it looks like all of these teams have to reach for offensive linemen. Now, unlike the Rams, at least the Niners selection here, Jace Wheeler-Kennedy does have hidden dev, but he's also only a 68 overall, so this is far from a great pick. With the 14th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Terrence Poole, edge rusher, Wisconsin. Terrence Poole was the second projected edge rusher off the board, but instead he was the fourth. Very similar to the Jets and Rashawn Campbell, the Colts did a very nice job of letting the draft play to them and getting a player who probably should not have fallen this far. The Colts have a lot of pass rushers on their roster. They have plenty of different players who can get after the QB. With the 15th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Kevin Blanchard, safety from the University of Westlake. It's about time someone from Westlake's elite defense from last year fell off the board as Kevin Blanchard going to the Eagles. Blanchard stands at 6'4", with elite athleticism. He's a little bit raw, I feel like. He wasn't perfect in college, but I think his athletic upside was too much for the Eagles to pass up right here. With the 16th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Avante Harris-Giles, edge rusher from the University of Illinois. It's clear that the Browns believe in former fourth-rounder Malik Edwards-Hoskins at quarterback. Otherwise, I have to imagine Westlake's Keith Fleming would have been this pick. Instead, Cleveland's improving the defense a little bit with the athletic and quick Avante Harris-Giles out of Illinois. This player is a little bit raw, but I do like his upside going forward. With the 17th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Keith Fleming, quarterback, Westlake. Fitting that we were just talking about Keith Fleming, as he won't have to wait too much longer to hear his name called. His NFL career is starting in Carolina. Fleming had an outstanding season this year as a redshirt sophomore for Westlake, won the starting quarterback battle over Marsucio Walteron, and led the Hornets to a national championship. Carolina, you're getting a good one. With the 18th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Washington football team selects Amaziah Okiki, edge rusher, Auburn University. Although he only has normal development, USC's Amaziah Okiki is one of the most pro-ready defensive ends in this draft. Washington is getting a player who should help them make a playoff push this season. With the 19th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Isaiah Clemens, cornerback from the University of Minnesota. The Chargers used their first-rounder last year on Westlake corner Anthony Mitchell. Now they're going to double down on corners, as they hope him and Isaiah Clemens can be the starting corner duo of the future. With the 20th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Vincenzo Pagnotti, tight end from Virginia Tech University. The first tight end is off the board. Virginia Tech's Vincenzo Pagnotti headed to Houston. Looks like the Texans want to give Deshaun Watson as much weapons as possible. With the 21st pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select N'Keal McCarter, wide receiver, University of Illinois. Speaking of a team stacking up on weapons, we take a look at the Minnesota Vikings selecting wide receiver N'Keal McCarter. The Vikings already have a very good duo in Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, but now they're going to add another receiver for quarterback Preston Garrett. With the 22nd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Giles Warrington, defensive tackle, Ohio State. The Jaguars have three players they are eyeing with their first-round pick. The first one to go off the board here is Giles Warrington, the big defensive tackle out of Ohio State. I'm surprised he fell this far, and I have to say, the Jags board is playing out really well for them right now. With the 23rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Jock Vallone, safety, Westlake. Jock Vallone was the second of three players that the Jags were eyeing with their first-round selection, so maybe the board isn't playing out that well for the Jags. Vallone is an old-school, tough, hard-hitting safety. I think Cardinals fans are really going to like him. So now that two of the three players the Jaguars were eyeing up are off the board, it's time for a trade. This is a big one right here. The Jags' 7th-round pick and linebacker Keyshawn Rhodes headed to the Dolphins for their 7th-round pick. I know this trade looks small, but the 7 from Miami is being used in an actual big trade, as the Jags will be moving up 5 spots with the Seattle Seahawks. Picks 29, 145, and 198 are on the move to Seattle for pick 24. The Seahawks are getting a few other additional draft picks just to move down 5 spots. The Jaguars, meanwhile, get the player that they've been eyeing up all along. With the 24th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Jordan Jr., safety from the University of Penn State. This marks the 4th straight season that Jacksonville's first selection in the draft is being used on a defensive back. Penn State's Josh Jordan, who had an outstanding combine, nearly a 40-inch vertical, 4.43 40-yard dash. He has the athletic profile, and he has the upside to be really good. 76 overall with hidden development, so the Jags continuing to improve their secondary. They used their second rounder last year on free safety Julius Williams out of Oregon. So what does this mean for Williams? I don't think Julius Williams is really at his best out deep in coverage. So I think Julius Williams will move over to strong safety, and Josh Jordan Jr. here is going to take more of that center field traditional free safety role. He had an outstanding season this year against Penn State and is really the total package of what you look for in a safety prospect. Obviously, he's great in coverage. He had 2 interceptions in this Minnesota game, and he has really, really good ball skills for a player of his young age. Obviously, athletically, he checks all the boxes. He finished top 3 in every major combine drill among free safeties, and he can make the occasional play in the run. Josh has the speed and size to cover both tight ends and running backs in the passing game. So this is a very versatile safety who can do a lot of different things. And I think Jacksonville's getting themselves a really, really good player who they can plug in immediately to be the day one starting free safety and get themselves very solid production as a rookie. With the 25th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Terrence Carroll, wide receiver, Arkansas. The Ravens do have a hole at safety, and I think there's a good shot Josh Jordan Jr. would have been the pick had Jacksonville not just traded up. Instead, Baltimore is going to try to get Lamar Jackson some help, selecting Terrence Carroll out of Arkansas. I'm surprised he fell this far, so not a bad selection here for the Ravens. With 26th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Malik Moore, wide receiver, Missouri. Here comes the run on receivers as now Malik Moore is off the board to Chicago. Moore entered the draft very late in the pre-draft process. He still goes in the first round here to Chicago. This young man has a lot of upside, and I think the Bears are really doing a good job of building up their receiving core. With the 27th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Dylan Washington, linebacker, Westlake. Another former Westlake Hornet is off the board. Dylan Washington headed to Buffalo. He was outstanding towards the second half of the season, and he played really well in that national championship game as him and Ronald Benson formed one of the top linebacker duos in college football. With the 28th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Ronald Benson, linebacker, Westlake. Speaking of Ronald Benson, he's not going to have to wait too much longer to hear his name called, as he'll be ending up in Jerry's world with the Cowboys. Ronald Benson was the best player on college football's best defense this past season. He was the heart and backbone of Westlake's defense, and I think Dallas is getting themselves a really, really good player. With the 29th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jeremiah Serwick, cornerback, Texas Tech. The Seahawks moved down 5 spots, got a few additional day 3 picks, and are selecting Texas Tech's Jeremiah Serwick. Serwick is a very strange prospect. I don't know if he has the ability to play outside corner, but I don't think he has the versatility to move over to safety because of poor zone coverage. Regardless, I think he's athletic and versatile, and he's very interesting, I guess. I'm curious to see how Seattle uses him in their defense. With the 30th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Ben Jones, edge rusher, LSU. Atlanta used the first overall pick last year on Westlake pass rusher Delvin Hines. Well, clearly that pick made them a lot better considering they're picking at the back of the first round. Now they're going to get Hines a buddy on the other side in LSU's Ben Jones. With the 31st pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Miami Thomas, linebacker from the University of Texas. A player named Miami who played college at Texas and is starting his NFL career in Cincinnati. Kind of odd, but I do like this pick for the Bengals. I think Miami Thomas is a really, really solid player. And with the 32nd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Jared Clements, safety, Louisville. It's kind of fitting that the last pick of the first round is probably the worst. The Super Bowl champion Giants not making a great selection here in Jared Clements, who's only a 67 overall, and he's already 24 years old. So that will conclude the first round. Josh Jordan Jr. now a Jacksonville Jaguar. 3 quarterbacks go off the board. For the rest of the draft, I'm not going to go over every pick like I did here. From here on out, the only picks I will go over are any Jaguars picks, any Westlake players off the board, or any other picks that I find interesting. With the 40th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Popeye Rainwater II, wide receiver, Coastal Carolina University. Al Davis in his grave must love this kid. Popeye Rainwater II, elite speed and quickness. Not a great route runner, but he does have good hands and has good ability after the catch. I think he's going to be a really fun player in the NFL. With the 43rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Anthony Woodard, running back, University of Oklahoma. The Heisman Trophy winner, Anthony Woodard, is off the board to Detroit. Certainly a very unique story Woodard has, from the scout team to the Heisman Trophy. I don't really know why the Lions are picking a running back. They gave Kerryon Johnson fairly big money a few years back, and they also have DeAndre Swift on the roster. So, again, it seems like the Lions don't really care about what positions they need and are just going after flashy skill position players who do happen to be quite good. The 44th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Reggie Carter, running back from the University of Alabama. Here comes the run on running backs, no pun intended. Reggie Carter is your prototypical elite power back. He may not be excellent as a receiver, but the Jets are getting a great player. So here at pick 45, Jacksonville is eyeing somebody up. They don't think he's going to fall to pick 53, so they're going to make a move. The Jags will move up 8 spots with the 49ers and will send a 6 to San Francisco for their troubles. I know this does not seem like a lot for San Francisco to get, but clearly the player they would pick at 45 is going to be on the board at 53. With the 45th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Bob Adams, cornerback, Westlake. The Jaguars are doubling down on secondary with their top 2 picks as former Westlake Hornet Bob Adams is headed to Jacksonville. Adams just completed his excellent redshirt sophomore season and at just 20 years old, standing at 6 foot with a 4.34 40-yard dash. This is a very intriguing player whom I think Jaguar fans are going to love very quickly, very early on. Adams is a very versatile player. As a redshirt freshman, he played in the slot, and this past season, he played on the outside and had a great season for the Jags. He's very solid in man coverage early on. He also has good ball skills, not great in zone coverage, but he does have a lot of time to pick that up. Bob Adams is a very unique player. He was a 5-star quarterback in high school, but he also has the ability to play the secondary at a very high level. With Westlake not really needing a quarterback at the time, they had Bob Adams play corner, and he was very good from the start. Adams had a solid redshirt freshman season in the slot, and as I mentioned, this past season, he was one of the top outside corners in the nation, racking up 4 interceptions and not letting opposing QBs throw his way. Adams will most likely be Jacksonville's slot corner this season, and with C.J. Henderson and Zaire Wiggins both on the outside, I'm not exactly sure when Bob Adams will get his chance to be an outside corner. With the 48th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Tyrone Newton, running back, Cal. Tyrone Newton won the Heisman Trophy as a redshirt junior. This past season as a redshirt senior, he was a little bit disappointing, taking his name out of first-round considerations, but the Browns clearly want a dominant 1-2 punch in their backfield. They already have Nick Chubb. Now they're going to add Newton. The 52nd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Titus Moss, wide receiver, Minnesota. Titus Moss originally committed to Westlake, never really got a shot there, and transferred for his redshirt senior season to Minnesota. Had a great year this year for the Golden Gophers, propelling his name into the second round. Despite a lack of athleticism, specifically speed, Moss is a very reliable receiver who I think Deshaun Watson is going to like a lot. With the 59th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Nick Gardner, edge rusher, Westlake. Nick Gardner never put up elite numbers at Westlake, but this is a guy who did a lot of the dirty work. Recovered the game-winning fumble this past year in the national championship, and I think the Bills are getting themselves a really solid player. Here at pick 61, the Jaguars have a player who they like and would be willing to take here, but they think he'll fall a little bit farther, so going to try to make a trade here for Broncos. That one is not accepted, but Denver's literally offering the exact same trade here, so I don't know why they didn't take that. So pick 61 going to the Broncos in exchange for pick 69. Nice, along with a third-round pick, I believe 133 in this year's draft. So the Jags add a 3 and a 5. Jacksonville only had 2 day 3 picks before that, so I think that's a nice trade for them. Hopefully they get the player who they wanted. With the 63rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select John Cummings, running back, Westlake. John Cummings had one of the most unique collegiate careers ever. As a freshman and sophomore at Westlake, he was the leading rusher and a major piece of the offense. Late in his sophomore season, he dropped the game-winning touchdown pass in the national championship game. As a junior and senior, his role diminished thanks to the emergence of Isaiah Sparks, but as a senior, he did catch the game-winning pass in the national title game. So that will conclude the second round. We made a pair of trades, moving up to pick 45 to select Bob Adams, and we moved down from pick 61 to 69. Usually the run on mid-round quarterback starts here at the top of the third round, so expect to see a bunch of quarterbacks start to go off the board. With the 65th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Arch Westwood, linebacker, Arizona. The Bucs already drafted their quarterback today, so they're not going to look at a mid-round quarterback. Instead, they get one of the other Westwood brothers in Arch. The Steelers were 1 pick away. Would have been very fun to have 3 Westwoods on the same team, but I guess we can't have that. With the 67th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Jesse McKenzie, quarterback, Stanford. The Saints, of all teams, are the ones to select Jesse McKenzie out of Stanford. They just drafted Marcus Trotter 2nd overall last year at quarterback, and he had a good rookie year. I don't really know what the Saints are doing here. I guess they want a really good backup, and I guess they figured that McKenzie being here would be too much of a good value pick to pass up. But I don't know what role McKenzie's going to serve other than being a backup quarterback. With the 68th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Monty Miles, quarterback, North Carolina. A part of me thinks that New Orleans picked McKenzie in spite of the Tennessee Titans, who were picking right after and do have a hole at quarterback. Instead, they'll pick Monty Miles, who I don't think will ever be a great starting NFL quarterback, but I think he's going to have like a Ryan Fitzpatrick-esque career where he bounces around as a low-level starter, but has a long NFL career. With the 69th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Mike Rhodes, center, Westlake. The Jaguars are using their nice selection on a nice player in center Mike Rhodes. Spoiler alert, the player Jacksonville would have picked at 61 had they not made the trade down was Mike Rhodes, so they still get their guy. Rhodes is a 72 overall with hidden dev, and he is the highest rated offensive lineman in the entire class, which more so shows that the O-line class this year was really bad. Despite re-signing Brandon Linder, I don't think Jacksonville thinks he is the long-term center, and Jacksonville does have a hole at guard, and I think Rhodes can play there right away. Rhodes was one of the best interior offensive linemen this season in college football, racking up numerous awards at the center position. He is strong in the run game and the pass game. He has solid athleticism. He's not an elite athlete, but he's a good athlete. In my opinion, he's a high-floor player who likely will never be an elite offensive lineman, but I think he's going to be one of the better centers in the NFL for a long time, and I guess early on, one of the better guards in the NFL. I do think he has center to guard flexibility. Very well-rounded player here, does not have a ton of weaknesses, and he's going to be a day one starter on the Jaguars' offensive line. With the 70th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jordan Reese, quarterback from the University of Alabama. Going back to the theme of quarterbacks, Jordan Reese is a Miami Dolphin. I don't think the Dolphins are totally satisfied with what Tua Tagovailoa has shown them so far, and now Tua's replacement at Alabama in Jordan Reese might be his replacement in the NFL. With the 73rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Kez October, defensive tackle, Westlake. Kez October, who forced the game-winning fumble in this year's national title game, is off to LA with the Rams. He's a player I know Jacksonville was eyeing up had they not addressed defensive tackle in free agency. Kez's older brother, Octavius October, was drafted in the first round a few years back by the LA Chargers, made the Pro Bowl this past year, so the October brothers will both be in LA, but for opposite teams. With the 75th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Mac Terry, cornerback, Westlake. I've been waiting for the day the Lions would use a draft pick on a Westlake Hornet as they select corner Mac Terry, who started opposite of newly drafted Jaguar Bob Adams this past season. With the 76th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Avo Iyuluko, tight end, Stanford University. Avo Iyuluko, who was arguably the top tight end in college football last season, is off to gang green with the Jets. His brother, Ulri Iyuluko, is in Washington with the football team, so unfortunately these two siblings won't be paired up thanks to Washington already being set at tight end. With the 91st pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Willie Wiggins, guard, Westlake. Mike Rhodes' main sidekick in the interior of Westlake's offensive line this season was guard Willie Wiggins. The Bills have now drafted 3 Westlake players with their first 3 picks, and it looks like Buffalo's going to remain atop the AFC East this season. With the 93rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Marsucio Alteron, quarterback, Westlake. The Jacksonville Jaguars are using their other third-round pick on a quarterback? Marsucio Alteron is the selection. Now, let me just start off by saying a few things. 1, there will not be a battle for the starting QB this season. Koko Nwosu is the starting quarterback, and I still thoroughly believe Koko is the franchise quarterback, and this selection does not change that. But there are a few reasons for this pick. Number 1, there isn't really any other player who I think value-wise makes sense here. Another thing is that the Jags don't have a good backup right now. Their highest-rated backup is 63 overall Devontae Williamson, who spent last season on the practice squad. Sometimes you just have to draft who's the best player available, and for us, that's Marsucio Alteron. Another thing is that Koko Nwosu's only played 13 games. He could just be one of those fluke players. I mean, we kind of saw with Tim Tebow a while back, had a good rookie season, and turned out to be a fluke. If that's the case, we need a backup plan, and Marsucio Alteron is exactly that. If Koko Nwosu is the franchise quarterback that we all know he is the shot to be, Marsucio can always be used as trade bait down the line. So I know this does not look like a great pick on paper, but I do think it is a smart selection for Jacksonville. Let's take a look at the player here they're getting in Marsucio Alteron, who's only 20 years old. He has all the physical tools to be great. He has a strong arm, he's accurate, he's mobile. But the big concern with him that separates him from Koko currently is that Marsucio is really bad under pressure. Now, luckily, the Jags' pass-blocking offensive line is one of the better pass-blocking units of the NFL, and they are returning 4 of 5 starters. But it is still worth noting that unlike Coco, who's great under pressure, Marsuccio is not. Alteron never started a game of college football. He competed with Keith Fleming for the starting QB position and lost. Keith Fleming obviously started. He played very well, led Westlake to the national title, and declared for the draft, and he's now a Carolina Panther. Once Alteron lost the QB battle, he decided to enter the draft. And even though Keith Fleming did declare, Alteron decided to stay in the draft, and he is a third-round selection going to Jacksonville. Going into this draft, I was not planning on selecting Marsuccio Alteron, and I was very curious to see where he ended up. But to my surprise, I pulled the trigger, and he will be starting his NFL career in Jacksonville. So 5 quarterbacks off the board here in the third round. We did not talk about Brad Vandermeulen. He's going to New England. The only reason why we did not talk about him is because he stinks. New England doesn't really need a quarterback. Cam Newton still has a lot left in the tank. So that'll do it for round 3. Jacksonville with 2 selections, Mike Rhodes and Marsuccio Alteron. Now with the team, let's advance to round 4. With the 104th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Marvin Bailey, cornerback, Westlake. Marvin Bailey never really got a true shot to shine at Westlake because the Hornets have always had a ton of talent in the secondary. I'm not sure if he would have started this year, so I don't really blame him for declaring, and he's going to end up in Vegas. With the 106th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Will Herring, edge rusher, Westlake. Just like how I was waiting for the day for the Lions to pick a Westlake player, I've been dreading for the day the Packers would pick a Westlake player. Will Herring, who led college football in sacks this past season with 10, is up north going to chilly Green Bay, Wisconsin. With the 108th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Nick Lott, linebacker, Westlake. Linebacker Nick Lott is another guy who never really got his chance to shine at Westlake. I am very sure he would have started this season for the Hornets, so I don't really know why he ended up declaring. With the 110th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Dale McBride, wide receiver, Westlake. Dale McBride is headed to the AFC South. He will be catching passes from Rodney Allen with the Colts. Dale McBride reminds me a lot of Casey Shock, and McBride had an awesome season this year for Westlake. He was probably their most consistent receiver, even more consistent than the number 2 overall pick, Carter Westwood. With the 111th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Reggie Herman, wide receiver / tight end from Westlake. Back-to-back Westlake receivers off the board as Reggie Herman is going to Denver. Herman has been the starter at tight end the past 4 seasons, but he was a converted wide receiver. He was never a natural tight end. Now that he's in the NFL, I imagine he will move back to wide receiver permanently and join Denver. With the 119th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Jaquan Bridges Jr., running back from the University of Delaware. Had R.J. Ewell not emerged into a star at the end of last season, I'm very sure Jaquan Bridges Jr. would have been a Jacksonville Jaguar. Bridges and newly signed Phillip Lindsay will anchor the backfield in Arizona. The 122nd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Marcel Stokely, edge rusher, Minnesota. Although he's only projected to go in the 7th round, the Jaguars have been eyeing up 21-year-old Marcel Stokely for a while, and they're going to select him here in round 4. Stokely is only a 67 overall, but he does have hidden depth. He is viewed as a reach, but I don't feel that. I think he is a really, really talented player. He is a little bit raw, but I think early on he can be a rotational pass rusher, and maybe if the Jaguars don't want to hand out long-term money to someone like Brian Burns or Kaylavon Chason, Stokely can eventually come in as a starter because I do believe he has starter upside. Stokely had a very solid season this year for the Golden Gophers, and at only 21 years old, he has a lot of upside and a lot of time to grow. He'll be able to learn from Josh Allen, Brian Burns, and K'Lavon Chaisson, and eventually I think he could replace one of those guys, assuming Jacksonville does not pay all three. For the 4th round, I think this is really, really good value, and he's one of the players who I'm super excited to see how he plays in the preseason. There are some medical question marks with Stokely, but when healthy, he's a really darn good player. The 123rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Paul Richard, tight end, Westlake. Make that 4 players out of Westlake drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Tight end Paul Richard has spent most of his career backing up Reggie Herman. Richard would have gotten to compete with Lamar Gallagher for the starting tight end position, but Richard ended up declaring for the draft. So Gallagher ended up winning it because he didn't have to compete with anybody. That will do it for round 4. A lot of Westlake Hornets off the board. Marcel Stokely now a Jaguar. Jacksonville only has 2 more picks left, and there aren't a ton of Westlake players on the board left, so only a few more picks for the rest of the draft that we're actually going to spend time with. With the 133rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Sean Harris, defensive back, Westlake. This is a very interesting pick. Sean Harris out of Westlake going to the Jaguars. I think he really fits this team very well. Harris has been the backup to Kevin Blanchard at 3 safety, but obviously with Blanchard entering the NFL, Harris could have gotten an opportunity to start, likely competing with Florentino Phoenix for a starting 3 safety position. However, Harris entered the draft early, and Phoenix obviously won that position again because he didn't have to compete with anybody. Westlake likes safeties who are versatile and have the ability to play linebacker. That's exactly what Sean Harris brings to the table. We saw the Jaguars use a 2nd rounder on Rashawn Babineau, and they have other similar players like Geno Stone and Ike Shorts-Raymond. With selecting Harris here, you'd have to think that Ike Shorts-Raymond's time could be coming up, as he hasn't really developed yet, and the extension of Geno Stone in the offseason doesn't appear to be really that necessary anymore with the selection of Harris. Never really got his chance in college, but I do like his upside as a hybrid safety / linebacker going forward. With the 142nd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Marlon Chavez, running back, Westlake. I really like Marlon Chavez a lot. This is a guy who played receiver in high school, moved over to running back in college, never really got to play at Westlake, and entered the draft after his redshirt sophomore season. I think that's a wise decision for him, and I think as a running back wide receiver hybrid, I think the Colts can have a lot of fun with him. With the 158th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Louis Venice, wide receiver, Westlake. Louis Venice reminds me a lot of former Westlake Hornet and now current Jacksonville Jaguar wide receiver Zeke Bowman. Venice is a very big, physical receiver with a lot of upside. Never really got his chance to play at Westlake and declared after his redshirt sophomore season. Excited to see what he does in Atlanta. That will do it for round 5. Only one more Westlake Hornet on the board and only one more Jacksonville Jaguars selection left. So we're only going to talk about 2 more picks for the rest of this episode. Let's get on to the 6th round. With the 176th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Drew Harris, running back, Westlake. Running back Drew Harris never really got to play at Westlake. He probably wouldn't have played next year, so I guess it's a smart decision of him to declare for the draft. Not really a whole lot to talk about with Drew other than the fact that he's really fast. With the 189th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Keolamu Loa Moliakalaniko, defensive tackle, USC. What a name. Keolamu Loa Moliakalaniko. I'm not going to remember how to say that gigantic name, so we're going to call him Big Nico for short. Only a 67 overall with normal development, but he's a very intriguing player. 6'8", 360 pounds. This is a behemoth of a human being. Benched 46 reps at the combine. That's more than anybody in this entire draft class. You think of someone of his size, you'd probably immediately think of the nose tackle who can shoot gaps in the run game and doesn't make a huge impact in the pass game. Well, that's not the case with Big Nico. He's actually a very good pass rusher for his size, had 6.5 sacks this season at USC, second on the team, only behind first-rounder Amaziah Okeke. Big Nico is not great in the run for his size, but for someone to be able to rush the quarterback like him is very useful. He also played a lot of fullback in college, had a touchdown there in the Oregon State game. Not a guy who's going to get a lot of playing time early on, but I think you can develop him and potentially have him as a long-term piece of the future. It's also worth noting that he has a twin brother in this draft class who played center at USC, and he's almost equally as strong. Mahulilani Molianalnico, who benched 39 reps on the bench press. So that will do it for round 6. Big Nico is now a Jacksonville Jaguar. The Jaguars are out of selections, and there's no more Westlake Hornets on the board. So because of that, there are no interesting 7th round picks to talk about. So we're going to skip right through the 7th round. As you can see, here are all the 7th round selections. The only pick of somewhat note is that Big Nico's twin brother, the center, was selected by the Dallas Cowboys. So one of the twins is in Jacksonville, the other one is in Jerry's World with the Cowboys. So that will pretty much conclude our draft today. 7 players: Josh Jordan, Bob Adams, Mike Rhodes, Marsucio Alteron. Let me know how you feel about that pick in the comments. Marcel Stokely, Sean Harris, and Big Nico. I think we had a really, really good draft here. A lot of players who I was not planning on taking, like a certain Marsucio, but I think this team is really built well, not only for this season, but for the future as well. Next time we will be here at the Jaguars franchise will be this Friday. I will be live streaming the preseason on either Friday or Saturday. I haven't decided. I think it'll be one of those 2 days. So make sure to stay on the lookout for that. Let me know how you think we did in the draft and in the offseason as a whole. What's your record prediction for season number 4? Do you think we're going to win the division? Do you think we're going to go far in the playoffs? Do you think Coco's ever going to get benched? Hopefully not, but now we know we have the capable backup quarterback if Coco were to start playing poorly. I hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously, this took a long time for me to make, as I said at the beginning of the video, but these videos are always a ton of fun for me to produce and show to you guys. Hope you all enjoyed. I'm out. Peace.